Hello students, welcome to Scholar IAS current affair classes. So let's see what are the important articles for the day. The first article is on exotic pets. So this is related to a GS3 environment paper. So it is an article from Indian Express paper. Before getting into the detail, let's see what is in the news. So the Supreme Court actually has upheld Allahabad High Court's judgment. So what is the judgment about? Actually, the Allahabad High Court has granted immunity from investigation and prosecution of a person declaring illegal acquisition or possession of exotic wildlife species. So, if someone has in their possession some exotic wildlife species, and if they voluntarily declare that, then they won't be prosecuted or investigated. So this is in relation to the voluntary disclosure scheme brought by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So what does this scheme proposes is that it allows the owners of exotic live species acquired illegally. Okay, this is very important. If they had acquired it illegally without any documents, then they can disclose it under this scheme. So without any repercussions. That is what this scheme is about. And these animals has to be declared, these species has to be declared to the government between June to December 2020. This is what the scheme is about. So when they declare it, as I mentioned before, they would be given immunity from investigation as well as prosecution. So what is the main objective of such a scheme? It actually tries to address the challenge of zoonotic species diseases, because we know that even when human and animal wildlife come in close contact, there is high possibility of zoonotic diseases to spread. So to handle this is a way to tackle that challenge. And second is to develop an inventory of exotic species, because there is no idea about how many exotic species are there, and when they are illegally sourced, government would not have any data on such exotic species. And next thing is very important aspect is that compliance under CITES. So CITES is a convention. So it is a convention on international trade in endangered species of wild fauna and flora. So India is a member to this CITES, to this convention. So for better compliance, this is a way to follow it. And also in its current form, it is not a law actually. This scheme is not a law. It is just a policy or advisory. So it doesn't have any statutory backing, but it still has a backing from the government. That's all. So now let's see which are the exotic species that are being covered under this scheme. So basically this scheme, voluntary disclosure scheme, covers animals under appendices of 1, 2 and 3 of the CITES. Whatever wildlife that has been covered under these appendices of CITES would be protected, but it would not cover any species that falls under the Schedules of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So this CITES, all these three appendices actually protects almost 5,950 species, and some of these species are categorized as exotic species, and important ones are like lemurs, coral snakes, tortoise, etc. Okay. So now who will be implementing authority? Who will be the implementing authority? So any person who is in possession of such illegal species will have to disclose about that possession of such species through ministry's Parivesh portal. Okay, and they have to address this to the chief wildlife warden of that particular state or union territory that they belong. And once that is done, the chief wildlife warden would actually go and physically verify such exotic species that are in possession of that particular person who has declared it, and will issue an online certificate for such possession. This is what the implementing authority, chief life warden is the implementing authority or executive in this aspect, and he would be implementing it on ground. So whatever we saw till now is about the scheme. Now let's try to get a broad understanding about the illegal trade that is actually happening. Okay. So according to DRI, that is Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, so this is the authority. Guys, remember this point. This can be even asked in prelims. So DRI exercises anti-smuggling laws. Okay, so this is the authority that deals with anti-smuggling laws. According to this DRI, India has emerged as a big demand center for aquatic birds and animals. So this is what the DRI data says. And most of this exotic wildlife is imported through illegal channels and sold in domestic market as pets. Okay, so basically people are having these exotic wildlife as a pets at their home, and some of the species that have been recovered by DRI are something like civet, pygmy falcons, hoodlog gibbon, etc. So students, this is all about exotic pets. Let's move on to the next article. The second article is about regulation of chemicals. This is related to the Eluru incident in Andhra Pradesh that happened few weeks back, where many people got affected by a mysterious illness. When all these patients were tested, when their blood samples were tested, excessive amounts of nickel and lead were found, and they also showed symptoms of nickel and lead poisoning. Okay, so now the question is, how come they got exposed to these compounds? See, these compounds, nickel and lead, are actually excessively present in regular use of this common pesticide and fumigants, and also in the use of bleach and chlorine that are used for COVID-19 sanitation. Okay, and another reason that is being considered for such an exposure is that improper disposal of lead acid batteries. Okay, these two are regarded as the important reasons for people to get exposed to these nickel and lead. In relation to this, there are few facts that we have to understand. One is that an interim report actually has said that the number of industries that produce hazardous waste has increased significantly from 2008 to 2016-17. So it has almost doubled, you can see here. And also CPCB has said that almost 1 million tons of hazardous waste was failed to be disposed of and in a proper manner, and almost 128 confirmed contaminated sites contain hazardous substances. Students, you don't have to remember these facts, but it's just to give you an understanding of the intensity of the issue. Okay, you just have to understand how intense the issue of hazardous waste is. Okay, that's what this purpose of this data is. So the next point is that Andhra Pradesh government, okay, they have now actually set up a multidisciplinary committee to probe into the source of outbreak and suggest measures to prevent the occurrence of such events in future. Because we know Bhopal incident also happened something similar to this. Bhopal incident was also something similar to this. So to prevent such incidents, a multidisciplinary committee has been set up. Even as per Indian policies, various policies, organochlorides from pesticides and fumigants are discarded as a toxic agent only. Okay, but there is no proper investigation on such disposal of such waste. Okay, so what is in addition to this, also the national chemical policy has not been updated since 2012, and even a draft report that was prepared in 2018 has not made any progress because they haven't come out with a detailed report regarding the issues around hazardous chemicals. The National Chemical Management Profile, actually they released the data in 2005-2006. It stated that India needs some standard procedures and personnel for inspection of chemical industries because they are the most polluting, these are the main sources of such hazardous waste. So there is a standardized procedure so that there is a clarity around how these things has to be disposed, and there has to be investigation and vigilance to ensure that these procedures are being followed by chemical industries. But because of these issues, because of not updating a national chemical policy and because there is lack of standardized procedures, these kind of incidents keep happening. So what is the need is that a coordinated and holistic approach is required. So when we say holistic and coordinated, we mean that the approach has to cover all types of chemicals that are even regarded as toxic. Whatever chemical that is regarded as least toxic also has to be covered under this. Also, that it has to be coordinated because we have 3-tier government. So local, state and union government all have to coordinate to prevent such incidents. So this is about this article, students. Let's move on to the next article. So the third and final article is about Rohingyas issue. So this is related to mains GS2 international relations topic. Okay. So the UNHR, okay, United Nations Human Rights Investigator, actually has requested Bangladesh for the assessment of remote island of Bhasan Char. So this is an island. Students, remember this island name because it can be asked in prelims. They can ask this island and ask where it is located or which country it belongs to, something similar to that. Okay. So remember this island, it is related to Bangladesh. It is an island of Bangladesh. So actually Bangladesh, they repatriated 1600 Rohingya refugees to this island. Okay, before getting into the details, let's get a broad geographical understanding of this Bashar island. So actually this island is formed by the accumulation of silt, okay, where the river Meghna meets the Bay of Bengal. So this is where it is not a permanent island. It has been formed due to accumulation of silt in this area. And char is a common feature in Meghna and Padma rivers, and it literally means shifting landmass. Okay, this is very important as well. So as the name suggests, as I said before, this is not a permanent feature. It keeps appearing and sometimes even gets destroyed due to weather events. But this island is surrounded by mangrove forest and it gives a geographical stability to it. But still it is not safe because it is more prone to flood and severe cyclones. We know Bay of Bengal is also prone to many cyclones. So when such cyclones, it cannot withstand, and when Rohingya refugees are pushed into this islands, the safety of these refugees is questionable. So but Bangladesh has actually constructed some roads. They have built infrastructure in these areas and they have rehabilitated Rohingya refugees there. But still, despite these things, even after UN has said that this island is not safe for habitation, Bangladesh has sent these refugees to this island. So Amnesty International has actually demanded Bangladesh to stop sending Rohingyas to this island. Okay, so this is what the broader issue is about. Amnesty International also has requested in future, if any such relocation of such Rohingyas happens, that has to be in a transparent manner as well as in a participatory manner. Okay, so because despite they being refugees, it doesn't mean that they can be pushed aside. So they enjoy the basic human rights and they should be given that. When you send them to an island which is considered not to be safe for habitation, then it puts their life at risk, and this is a basic human right. Okay, so currently Rohingya refugees are located in Cox's Bazar area of Bangladesh, and just because it is too crowded, too congested, the Bangladesh government is considering relocation of them. And in a long term, this is just a short term plan Bangladesh is trying to do, but in a long term they are trying to send them back to repatriate them to Myanmar itself. So this is all about the Rohingya issue. So as I mentioned, there are few important points about, you should remember the name of the island that we saw, because it can be asked potentially asked in prelims, and also broad idea about this Rohingya issue. Few points can be used in your mains exam as well. So students, that is all for today's class. Till tomorrow's class, happy learning. Bye bye.